Going live. Okay, we're live. Hello, happy Thursday. It's Thursday, the 12th of May, 2016. My name is Carl Rogers.
My name is Marcia Gert.
And we're going to do a quick webinar here for you today on how to win in a multiple offer situation. We just wanted to give you some tips and advice. This year is a very interesting year. I'm going to show you a quick chart here to show that we are in, minimize this, we're in a very low inventory market here in Rochester. This is a chart that looks back to kind of the peak of spring of last year, where our active single family home inventory was up in the mid 400s. And over the past year, we've taken a big dip, and right now we are probably just under 300. So the supply is much lower, and the demand is the same, if not more, than it was last year with news of DMC and all that stuff. So that's kind of where we're at, and a lot of homes are going to multiple offer situations. So we thought it was a relevant and important topic for you all. As we've done in the past, if there are questions, we look forward to a few minutes at the end where we can discuss those as well. But we'll kind of get going here with our presentation. Okay, so how to win in a multiple offer situation. We're gonna start off here with kind of a little bit of a game with a recent transaction that went into multiple offers, and that home was listed at $194,900. So it received the first offer. We're gonna talk through some of these things as well, but the key points to this offer was earnest money was at $1,000. The offer amount was $200,000. The buyer was asking the seller to pay $3,000 in contributions to their closing costs. This was an inspection contingent offer, and the closing date was the 23rd. So with an offer at $200,000 and asking the seller to contribute $3,000 in closing costs, the net was actually $197,000. So that was just over $2,000 above the asking price was the net to the seller. So offer number two, earnest money was $3,000. The gross offer amount was $200,000. The buyers were asking the sellers to contribute about 3% of closing costs, which at $200,000 would be $6,000. This was not contingent on an inspection, and the closing date was flexible. So the net to the seller on this one was right about asking price. So in summary, you can see that the key difference between these two was an inspection contingency. And you know, it all kind of comes back to the current condition of the home. This home was built, I believe, in the 60s, however, had some incredible updates and was in really good shape. So although sometimes that can be a risky thing for as a buyer to waive their inspection, if you think about it from a seller's perspective, it's not contingent on that inspection. So at the end of the webinar, we will let you know which one the sellers went with, but I think this is a very interesting situation where you have one offer that's actually netting the seller about $3,000 more than the other offer, but it is inspection contingent and the other is not. So we thought we'd kick it off with this one and have you think about which one would you choose. So again, we'll wrap up at the end with who won in that one, but I'm gonna pass it over to Marcia, and she's gonna go through 5 key points and possibly a couple bonus items on strategies in multiple offer situations.
So we have put together some points. There are 5 key factors in a multiple offer. And the first one, as Carl talked about in those 2 situations, is earnest money. This is just the down payment of any closing costs or part of your down payment that you're putting down for your mortgage up front. So it's kind of what we like to call a freebie. If you're going to put some money down anyway and you're in a multiple offer situation, Although the standard earnest money amount is about 1% of the purchase price of the home, something to make your offer stand out above and beyond some of the other ones that the seller might be looking at is to increase that earnest money up to, say, $3,000, $5,000, something like that. Depends a little bit on the price of the home, obviously, but more earnest money just shows more interest and that you're a stronger buyer. And again, this one is you're putting money down towards your mortgage anyway. You might as well do it up front and just kind of stand out above the crowd. The second one is obviously the price that you're offering for the home. In this crazy market, in multiple offer situations, the seller's expectation really is to at least be netting their asking price. So in the two scenarios that Carl just went through with you, both of those were really netting the seller above the asking price of the home, the list price of the home. And in a multiple offer situation, it's not uncommon to net the seller $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 over the asking price, again, depending a little bit on the price of the home and how serious your buyer is about this being the place they want. So obviously, this is one place as well that you can stand out above any other offers that the seller might be looking at. The third thing is closing date, and it's important for the closing date to obviously work for you as the buyer, but it's also important that your agent ask the listing agent the closing date that the seller prefers. If you kind of reach out and do that as an agent, it shows that you're taking an interest in what works for the seller. And if you pick a closing date that works for them and they're comparing that to closing dates and other offers that don't work so well for their family, then that can be another way that you can stand out above the crowd.
What's the standard kind of closing timeline required?
So from the time of the accepted purchase agreement to closing date, minimum needs to be 45 days for most lenders. If it's a cash purchase, that can happen within 2, maybe 3 weeks. So it depends a little bit on if you need to have some financing in there or if it's a cash purchase. Good question.
Thanks. Good.
The fourth thing on the list is, as Carl discussed in the kind of game we're playing, is the inspection. And for the most part, we encourage you as a buyer to get an inspection on a home. In a multiple offer situation, though, if you feel confident that the home is in great shape, maybe was pre-inspected, or recently transferred ownership with an inspection maybe a year or 2 ago, that would be an opportunity to go in with a non-inspection contingent offer, and or asking for a home warranty instead of actually taking the time to do an inspection. That, again, is just another way to stand out and just be less contingencies included within that offer that you're making for that property. Any additions, Carl?
No, I think this is a crucial time in the transaction, and a lot of buyers ask, what happens in the inspection contingency? Could the sellers accept another offer that's better than mine? How would that work?
So during the inspection contingency, they have accepted your offer, so they can continue to offer the property for sale, but cannot accept another offer unless yours would be canceled. During the inspection process, you may find some things that you want to ask the seller to repair, and then there's some more negotiation that happens. Or if you find some things that kind of scare you off from purchasing the home, you can also cancel and get your earnest money back. But this inspection period is a time where you do have an accepted offer on the home that you're making the offer on. So no, they can't accept another offer unless there's a cancellation involved.
Great. How about can the sellers cancel the purchase agreement in an inspection contingency period? You want me to?
Yes.
Okay. So short story, the answer to that is no. The tables do kind of turn in the transaction from a big picture perspective. from being in a hot seller's market to when you get your offer accepted, you as the buyer are in control in your inspection contingency period. Standard time frame for that period is about 10 business days. You can do less than that, maybe 5 or 7 business days to make your offer again stand out, and that's kind of a read between the lines, type thing that we're going to move forward quickly with this. But so to kind of circle back on that, if, for example, many things were found in the inspection that you were not comfortable with, you delivered a post-inspection amendment that asked the seller to repair these things. A lot of buyers ask, what if it's too much? Can the sellers come back and cancel? Again, the answer to that is no. Ask your agent about how the inspection contingency works and the time frame of how long you have to negotiate repairs with the seller. That's a crucial point as well in the inspection contingency. But if they were not happy with your list, you, again, as the buyer, are in control. You can either shorten that list or waive all of your inspection repair requests and move forward to remove that contingency.
And then the 5th thing on the list is closing costs. This is another important one, and it depends a little bit on your personal financial situation and how much you're pre-approved for and how much you're planning to offer for the home. So if it's best if you can make a clean offer to the seller and not ask them for any closing costs. So just make for instance, a full price offer or a slightly above full price offer and not ask the seller for any closing costs. But if you do need to finance those closing costs, typically in a multiple offer situation, your agent will suggest that you add those closing costs on top of your offer so that you would be offering more and still netting the seller that list price or above list price, depending on how aggressively you want to make your offer stand out above the crowd again. Anything else to add to that?
About how much are closing costs?
Standard purchase, about 3% of the purchase price of the home should cover majority of your closing costs.
We'll go back to us, so we're not on the presentation the whole time. But yes, back to closing costs, about 3% of the purchase price.
Mm-hmm.
How about if the buyer's paying cash? Give or take, would they be that 3% amount, or would they be less?
So a big chunk of your closing costs is to obtain your mortgage. The things that wouldn't change for a cash offer would be the title work and prorated taxes, those kinds of things.
Great. So yeah, majority of those closing costs are coming from, as Marcia said, the cost to kind of get a loan, set up your escrow accounts, and things like that. If you have additional questions, we can answer those at the end of the presentation here too.
And then above and beyond those 5 things, which are all part of every offer, there are some extra things that you and your agent can do to again, make your offer even stronger. And that one thing that we like to do on the Nardani team is to ask our buyers to prepare a buyer letter about themselves, their family, what they loved about the home, kind of a little bit of a tug at the heartstrings sort of thing, just to perhaps have the seller connect with you and or your family about how much you love this home and want it to be yours. So that's kind of a above and beyond sort of thing that we ask buyers to do if they're comfortable doing. Carl, you want to cover the escalation clause?
Sure. So an escalation clause is another strategic move you can do in a multiple offer situation where there's kind of 2 key points to an escalation clause. One is how much you'll beat the other offer by, and then the other is what dollar amount are you going to stop at? So to make numbers simple, let's say the home is listed at $200,000. If you were comfortable going up to $215,000, the way you could structure an escalation clause is the buyers will beat other offers by whatever that dollar amount is, $500 or $1,000, up to $215,000. So if another offer came in that was the highest amongst others at $208,000, your escalation clause would put you at $209,000. and not that 215 mark. But it's another way that you can strategize, and it does. I would suggest talking with the other agent, the listing agent, to make sure that they're aware of how that might work, and also to ask for verification and validation of the other offer that you beat. So that's the escalation clause.
One other thing that your agent can do on your behalf is actually to ask the listing agent if they can present your offer to the seller in person. Just to, again, to kind of give it that personal touch, to make sure they explain all the points of your offer, the amount of earnest money, the closing date flexibility that you might have, all those kinds of things in person, and just kind of make that person-to-person connection that might make your offer stand out from the other ones that they are considering.
Okay, so in summary, these are kind of the 5 key points that we think you can help with, along with those bonus points that can really help you put yourself above the rest and really stand out in a multiple offer situation. So to summarize, 5 key points were:
the higher earnest money amount, an offer above asking price, trying to use the seller's ideal closing date whenever possible, either using a no inspection offer or a shortened inspection time within your offer, like Carl talked about, maybe a 5-day business day inspection time rather than the standard 10-day, and to pay your own closing costs if that's financially possible for you.
So we'll leave a few minutes for any questions, but before we open that up, we'll go back to our little game on which one would you choose. And in this situation, what happened was the sellers actually elected to go with offer number 2, which was not inspection contingent. I don't believe we're sharing our screen right now, but again, that didn't net the seller quite as much in a dollar amount, but they were more comfortable with that going no contingencies and straight to a status of what's called pending or sold. So, all right, we'll see. I think we have about a minute or two to wrap up with any questions here. Let me see if we can open that up. Q&A. So we have a question, good question on about the escalation clause, asking, excuse me there, asking, won't that just tell the sellers what I'm willing to pay? Would they just come back and ask for that full amount? They could, but if your agent writes that escalation clause in the proper way, it says that we'll beat any offer up to that amount by just that dollar amount. So really, it's above asking price. I don't believe, without escalation clause, sellers can really counter higher than what they elected to go with an asking price, unless there's other offers that are at that amount. So I believe if your agent structures that escalation clause correctly, there won't be questions on what that maximum amount actually is.
Right, and part of that escalation clause is writing in there that you want proof of what the offer amount was for the other offer that you're beating. So again, in Carl's situation, if it was 208 and your escalation was $1,000 over the next highest offer, then they couldn't ask you to pay more than the 209 because of that escalation clause.
It's a good question. Any other questions from our viewers? If not, again, my name was Carl, as the Director of Sales here on the North Downey team, and Marcia Gert, one of our lead buyers agents on the team as well. Feel free to reach out and give us a call if you yourself are looking, for homes yourself, or also looking to sell. We'd be glad to help with any questions you might have.
Hope you enjoyed your time today. Our next scheduled webinar is Thursday, June 9th, again at noon. That one is more directed for sellers and about staging your home to sell. Thank you.
Thanks.